It's JJ Humphrey. We're back on Elephant in the Room. My good friend Bobby got sick today, so he's having to have some kind of infusion. He's probably watching right now. We're going to keep him lined out. So I've got my good friend, Mr. Justin Jackson, with us today. And what we're going to be discussing today is the upcoming election. Guys, if you haven't voted yet, make sure you go out and vote June 16th is the primary election. We have had a hot Justin. I mean, you've been involved. That's why I asked you to come on. You're one of the most politically involved people I've ever met. That I've known. You've been involved in politics and politics across state and actually U.S. politics, federal politics, state politics, and local. Know it very well. Have you ever seen a year that has been as contentious that you remember, in mine in your lifetime? I don't remember one being this nasty.
Not statewide, that's for sure.
I'm seeing DA's offices that are I mean, you always see a little bit of stuff, but I mean, right. I'm seeing some DA runs that are nasty. State representative, man, they're getting this plumb out of control on several of them. This AG, I believe the AG's race is probably been the nastiest race that I can remember. I'm sure there's been nastier happen, but I don't recall. And I've been up there 10 years. I've been involved in politics most of my life. Been very involved in watching politics, and of course there's always some trash goes out and some stuff goes out, but not like this year, man. That AG's race, which is going to be Eccles and Sterling, man, Sterling has just poured it on.
He has, he got in the race late, but he's sure been spending the money and the attack ads against Eccles. And I actually attended that debate live about a month ago, and it was worth the price of admission, I'll tell you, because it was almost like a UFC fight. A lot of punches.
Well, I was at one in McAllister a couple of weeks before that, and hey, they were heating up. And that old boy that was doing that, I was trying to think whether it was Bennett or who was kind of the mediator, moderator, and right. In this case, mediator would be better. But I will tell you this: Bennett handled it. A lot of them let him get out of control. Bennett called him right off bat. Hey, if you use the other guy's name, I'm gonna take this away from you. I'm gonna give so much that we're gonna keep it clean, guys, and y'all knock it off. I mean, he right off the bat, it went a couple of rounds, and then we're nipping that, that debate that you're talking about. I think it stayed pretty much heated the whole time.
Oh, it was, and they both threw some pretty good jabs, and so that's going to be an interesting race to see how it comes to a close, because it will be determined. It's only Eccles and Starling running for the Republican primary. I know they have a Democratic opponent that they'll meet in November, but that will be decided Tuesday night. But so many races have got, just like the governor's race, several others. There's a long list of candidates, so I'm sure we're going to be looking at runoffs coming in August.
Well, I don't see, like on that governor's race, how it keeps from getting a runoff. That one's going to go to a runoff. So right now, here's what's funny in the governor's race, Justin. You've seen these polls. Them polls have been. I've never seen a year where the polls have been so out of whack, because a few months ago, a month or two ago, you were seeing Gettner on top. You were seeing McCall second, almost always. You were saying Maisie and Chip Keating kind of running in that third or fourth place. And then you see, Jake Merrick dropped down there, 7%. He wasn't even in their neighborhood,
Yeah.
And then the last week or two, you've seen, man, that seems to have belly flopped on some of their polling.
Mm-hmm.
Jake, well, I seen one poll where Maisie was like 22 and Edmondson was 19-1 and Jake was 19. And they can't get that close. So 0.1, there's no way they can get it, shaved that close. And then It had McCall 18 and it had Keating, I think, right there at 18, right there with McCall.
Yeah.
And so what you're looking at on that poll, you're looking at a 5% difference between the top and 5 candidates.
Yeah.
And
just prior to the Thursday night debate with the governor's race, I listened to Chad Alexander, and he was talking about a poll where Maisie was at 24%, Gettner was 20%, Jake was at 12%, and Keating and McCall were tied for 10%. And we just had that said debate on Thursday night, and we saw Jake a couple of times yesterday on the campaign trail, you and I said, so what was KOTV and the other affiliate out of Oklahoma City? They're the ones that aired it, but it was at KOTV studios. I said, so why weren't you included in the debate? And he said, they came back and said you didn't have enough, that his team, the Merrick team, didn't have enough endorsements or money raised. So it sounds like they kind of made up the rules as they went along and took him out of being in the debate. But it certainly has gotten him a lot of attention.
I think, I think it helps him more by the elite trying to keep him out and trying to stop him from being able to participate. Why in the world would you take your third guy? Most of those places, and I'm involved in all this, most of them will have based on money or based on where you're at in polls.
Well, and you have to remember all of those commercials cost money, and Jake doesn't have any commercials on those affiliates. So there's probably your answer there. It's who's spending the money.
Who's spending money with them? That's a good way to always look at it. Sure, say it ain't so, Justin. Now you wouldn't think that'd be the way they'd actually work. I will tell you this: if you looked at that debate, and I do have, I have a big problem. I will tell you that them keeping Jake out of it makes me just want to vote for him more. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not right. I don't like that. He should give a chance to participate. They should give a chance to hear him. But the way it went, he got to sit out there and do his own thing, tell everything he wanted. So he got everything. He got more airtime than what he would have if he got on the debate stage anyways. And it was airtime the way he wanted it. He was in control of the dialogue. So, again, I think it did help him. But, man, they went after old Maisie and Drummond was going after each other. Chip and McCall are going at each other. Yeah. So it was pretty hot. Again, I think Maisie kind of lobbed a couple across to Drummond talking about being a Democrat and donating to Democrat.
Yeah.
I love how Drummond throws his wife. I will tell you this. Drummond's got his faults. I don't like, he never has. I bet I've filed 100 things with him that he has never filed, whether it be COVID, ATF, rape cases, human rights cases. I could go on and on. DA's cases. Now, he did do one good one. I will hold up for him when call them balls and strikes, but he did do good in Richard Glossop case. Now he sold that out. he took what he was doing good, and he got on another horse, and he sold us out on that one now. But
And I think,
you know,
Dan,
getting her. If you listen, getting her. Quit throwing your wife under the bus. Quit blaming it on your wife. That's the golly. That don't show much character, you know.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's been one of the issues as far as, of course, you know, they're blaming Maisie for flip flopping on the smelter project, and then
Well, you got to admit that don't look too good. I mean, he was one way when you were sitting there, and then he got the Trump endorsement. And I understand. I mean, in order to get a Trump endorsement, you got to do what Trump wants you to do, and you know everybody wants to be love Trump, but again, that's what comes with the Trump endorsement. You can't, you know what I'm saying? You can't to have your cake and eat it too. So I mean, that's part of what goes along with that. My biggest problem with that smelting plant, one, we don't know the environmental. Do you trust the EPA to run it? I don't trust the government on nothing anymore, man. You can't trust nothing they say. So again, we heard yesterday Tom Gann talk about that, and I trust Tom. Tom does his research. If there's anybody up there, Tom Gann would be somebody I'd listen to and trust. And he was talking about that foreign entity that, funds terrorism in Sudan to kill Christians, and that Arab, what is that? I can't remember the name of them. The foreign,
I can't either, but it's 60% is going to be controlled by them.
yeah, 60%. I mean, more than half will be controlled by a faction that funds terrorism in the Sudan to kill Christians. I got a little problem with that.
Yeah, and and Maisie said it was a matter of national security. So it's a little contradicting when you hear that, and then you hear that a foreign entity owns 60%. But I think that's going to be something that is certainly a hot button issue for the weeks and months to come, especially if we see a runoff with Maisie.
Let me ask you something, Justin. Have you heard much about this blue sky banking that Drummond's involved with? And apparently what I'm hearing is they are the ones that handle all the drug money, with the medical marijuana.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and how he took $10 million from OBN to start his own little crew over there, a little task force to go and raid all these marijuana shops. Well, if you have money, if you're making money out of marijuana and you're taking out all your competition, now this is what I'm understanding. I don't know. I'd like to look into all this. This is just what I'm hearing. But again, it looks like he took $10 million. I'm pretty certain he took $10 million from OBN. So here we have an agency that's set up to do all that. That's who they are. And he went over and took money. He tripled his budget. So he tripled his budget, I think. At least grew it by half, over half, probably, better than a third or so. But I think I was trying to think what it was. He went from 61,000 to like 161,000, or not 61,000 million, I believe. But
I have not heard that. But
yeah, you need to check. Everybody needs to check me out on this. I mean, I read so many facts and figures that my head goes to blowing up half the time. But I do know that he increased his budget. It was more than double. It's like a double and a half. You know what I'm saying? And he took a bunch of his money from OBN. I know that. And it wasn't out of their budget. It was out of what they earned. So like OBN doesn't get a big budget. What they do is they seize a bunch of property. They get paid on what they go out and do. And so he managed to get $10 million out of their budget. And that was money that they had worked on. And then he starts this task force so he can run out there and dress up like a like an officer and do little raids. And guess what? Then, why is he doing that? Well, I would say it looks like he's doing it to make cool campaign.
Sure. Oh yeah, the optics tough on crime.
Right. And so it looks like to me that he's using that money, that his whole intent was to use 10 million, hurt the OBN, stop the OBN from doing more, and him to get that so he can get credit on anything going on. And it just don't look good. It looks like he did it for, purely political purposes. Richard Glossop, same thing. He goes up there to Washington, argues, this guy can't get a fair trial. We win. Now you would think, how does a guy go all the way through all the process? We win all the way to U.S. Supreme Court, arguing for this guy, and then comes back and says, "No, let's file murder charges on him."
Switch camps, and it's just like when he and I had a discussion at the Stevens County GOP fundraiser. I said I did thank him for standing up when he did, doing the things that only Gettner could have done as AG, and he's ultimately why we got to the U.S. Supreme Court and why Rich is still alive today. And I told him, I said, as far as myself and the entire team and especially Rich will always be grateful for that. But I said, for the life of me, I don't understand why you've, made this 180-degree turn. But that's neither here nor there. We're going to keep marching forward. And I believe that subject alone and what you were talking about just now with the blue sky issue and that what sounds to be a very strong conflict of interest. I believe if he makes it into the runoff, and that is certainly predicted, we're going to see more of that coming to light on those two issues.
I don't know. His wife may end up with criminal charges if he goes to runoff. Man, how much more can he blame on her? You know what I'm saying? It'd be like, y'all, yeah. What's funny? I agree with you 100% that he is largely responsible. There's a lot of people played a part in stopping the execution and proving that the DAs had violated the law. And again, that's another thing I got an issue with him. He won't file on those DAs who clearly, blatantly, destroyed evidence and put a guy in prison wrongfully.
Right.
And so he should file charges on them. But I will tell you this: he's got a good personality. He calls me. I walk in a place. You've been with me when he's, hey, there's my old pen pal. I go, it is. I'm gonna write you some more because I do write him a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
He's got a good sense of humor. I like him. His wife seems very, very nice, and I like him. But golly, boy, we could go on just on him all day. Now, him and Maisie, what was the plug? We said that he was going after him a little bit on that smeltering and the Trump endorsement. And again, that's kind of Gettner come out on the smeltering. I think is just a big old jab to Maisie and a big old jab to Trump, because that's a Trump project. And then we saw the governor, he stepped in and started doing a little jabbing himself. Now McCall and Keating were more at each other's throat. They were more attacking each other over, policy stuff that McCall had voted on or not voted on, or how he did. It seems like,
Right. Yeah, it's right now. It's just everybody's at each other's throats, except for Jake. He's been left out of that mix, but. I think come 7 o'clock Tuesday, it's going to be interesting to see how this all fleshes out. And
what's funny, if Jake does by some chance get in there as a runoff contestant, I think anybody that gets in that runoff slot, you got to take them pretty serious. That's pretty serious.
I've been in a runoff, and it's a whole new slate after that because. people that were with other camps, they're going to go one place or the other. And so and that's why it's such a dicey game of chess, because you may need your opponent's supporters and their support after June 16th. So yeah, it's a very delicate dance, I like to say.
Well, and right now they really hadn't went after Jake. You know what I'm saying? He's kind of he hasn't he's managed to kind of come in there on the outside. They really haven't taken him serious. I think they are finally starting to take him serious now. So if he gets the runoff, get ready, because the dirt will start flying. And so I think that's I think that once we get into runoff, especially if it's runoff between Gettner and Maisie, man, I don't think that may be the nastiest race we've ever experienced. If it's a Maisie Jake, I don't think it'll be as much. Gettner, McCall, I think any Gettner race is going to get pretty. I think Gettner and Chip Keating would be really, really ugly. Maisie and Gettner would probably be the biggest one that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
it's contentious, no matter who it is. Like you said, if it happened to be Maisie and Merrick, I think that would probably be the most G-rated.
Right. Yeah, it'd probably be the most civilized.
It's going to be R-rated, and you better put your kids, get them away from the TV, because there's going to be a lot of negativity coming.
Well, I will tell you this. I don't think we've seen one like they've got out there in California. Pratt, I'm watching that and just laughing. He's doing an awesome job just wearing them out there. But I would say, you know, as bad as that governor's race has been, I would say the AG's race has been hands down, walk away, the ugliest race. And what's funny is John Eccles really had the name recognition much better than Jeff does. And
Sure.
John has worked his honey off. Now, you can't, I will tell you this, and I'm going to back up on that governor's race. You can say whatever you want, but now Charles McCall, I would not count him out yet. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no.
Because Charles has worked that rural vote like nobody's business. Charles has been to 77 counties. Charles started early, and he's worked. Now, I mean, you can say whatever you want, but Charles has worked his honey off. I mean, he has done. He's going to leave it all on the field, because he has put everything out there. So I do want to say, if working gets it done, you can't count him out yet. Again, that's one of the things I respect. I work very hard. When I see other people working hard, I always recognize that. Jake has worked equally as hard. You know, I stand on the side of the road and say, "Run, baby, run. Run, Jake, run," you know, because he's running that 400 something miles. Hey, go, baby. I'm not doing it, you know, run till the fat man gets tired. But, you know, Eccles has equally done that. Eccles, I've been all over the state, and you'll look up, and Eccles will be at half the events with you. Mm-hmm. And if he is not at an event with you, you're looking at Facebook going, "Oh, son, I didn't know that event was over. He's at a different event," something like that. So Eccles has outworked Jeff big time, but Jeff kind of laid behind the log, you know, till right here, a month and a half before election, and then he started just floating. And I mean, he's putting out them mailers. And Justin, now you know this, and a lot of y'all don't know how much your mailers cost, but you send a statewide mailer. I wouldn't say, I won't swear to it, but it was several $1,000s. I wouldn't say up in the 50.
Yeah, in a statewide race,
right? And he's sending them out. He's sending them out like three a week or so.
And we get them. Yeah, it's what fills my mailbox. But yeah, no, you got to tip your hat to folks like John Eccles, Charles McCall, because they have worked, and having been a candidate before, you appreciate that immensely, because somebody that just kind of sits back and then waits in your race. I know you've been working this thing for 10 months. And then you see somebody like Ostero get in and just start throwing a lot of money at it, trying to buy that position. What is perceived is just, hey, I got enough money. I'm not going to have to put in the time and the blood, sweat, and tears and the sacrifice. Here in Oklahoma, I think people pay attention to that. And so on that note, I'm so proud of the race that you have run. And I know you've been a one-man show. I went with you yesterday, and we started early, and we finished. We finished early this morning. So
yeah. I think it's 2:00, a little bit before 2. Of course, me and you sat out there talking a little longer. We could have made it home probably another 30, 40 minutes quicker.
And it was such a pleasure being on the campaign trail with you yesterday, and just to see the support that you're getting, because I know you turned several from the direction that they were thinking, and they're voting for you now. And some of them got out; they were trying to get to the polls before 2:00 there and prior to cast their vote for you. And I know you gained a lot of support from prior. We stopped.
That was an area I hadn't worked a whole lot. I kept trying to get up there, and we'd have to reschedule. Had the same problem southeastern or southwestern Oklahoma. Just can't seem to get a hold down there. Hopefully we get in runoff. I will tell you this, Justin. I don't like people that just seem to take it for granted they can buy a race. Again, I like TW. I really do. You can't help. If you ever meet TW, you can't help but like him. I mean, the guy's super likable. But I'm endorsed. Everything. Is Trump. Mullen. JD Vance. I've got all the Washington, and again, that's fine. But what is Washington? So, do you want somebody going to be owned by Washington politics? You're going to want somebody. Hey, let's just tell the truth. I mean, the tribes, he's bought and paid for by the tribes. He's bought and paid for by Washington. If that's what you want, that's what's wrong with our system. That's what's wrong, that people have these big money, like Ostro, walk in there and think I can buy an election, and that's who he is. I mean, he walked in there, stitched for me, and I can buy an election. I like David. He's okay. I don't have anything against him, but that is the problem. Big money running your government, or big government running your government. You need somebody who's going to stand up, somebody who's going to owe the people. You want them to answer to you, not to corporations, lobbyists, to government. You know what I mean? And again, if I've got to get a endorsement, what comes with that endorsement? It ain't no different. Let me tell y'all something, guys. It is no different than if you have lobbyist check. If you get a lobbyist check, then guess what? You have alliance to that lobbyist. If you get a corporate check, you got alliance to that corporation. If you got PAC money, you got alliance to that PAC money. And if you get an endorsement, a major endorsement, now, like, some of these groups that come out, OK2A, or, the vaccine group, they're not buying you off. I mean, they may give some money, but they're not going to be huge money. And again, I had no problem being aligned with one of those groups. But when you're talking about a Washington, D.C. endorsement, when you're talking about lobbyist money, big PAC money, that's where we've got to start really paying attention. I'd really encourage people to pay attention to that in the governor's race and in the lieutenant governor's race, for absolute certain. And then in this other AG's race, it's equally as important in that. But the problem is, like we said, Eccles has been out there working for a long time. Now this guy's going to come in, Jeff, and he's going to just use a smear tactic. And I finally, I think that was you telling me about that. Eccles finally pulled the trigger and did one of his own smear tactics, which was.
Oh, yeah. John certainly, he's certainly hit back. And, that, again, I think that's going to be a very interesting race. If I had to put a prediction. I think John's going to come out ahead on that one simply because he got started and he has the name recognition. But Starling, watching the debate and then meeting him there in Duncan, he's certainly not a quitter, and it's they're going to fight it till the very end. But yeah, that's been an interesting, and then also the DA's race up in Tulsa County. I know you've had a little involvement there. I've been watching that one with Colleen McCarty and Kuntzweiler, the incumbent. That one's certainly got very colorful here lately.
Well, I filed a lawsuit on, or not just me and Kevin.
Kevin McDougal, our buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, we filed a lawsuit on Kuntzweiler over at Glossop because he's hiding. They're having back alley conversations and hiding the public records. They're supposed to be the ones that provide public records. Instead, we're having to fight them and sue them. He filed a kidnapping charge on a gal, 4 years, is taking her kids, and he offered her a 90-day deferred. If you're offering 90-day deferred on kidnapping, it's pretty much big time BS. And to do that to a lady who's trying to protect her kids and then take her kids from her, my deal is you ought to go to jail on that, and he ought to be looked at going to jail for wrongful taking those kids, kidnapping, or child stealing. In my opinion, now that's just my opinion, but that's why he come out and said, well, it's kind of strange that this politician endorses her and then sues me at the same time. Well, he knows better than that, because he knows that in order to sue him, we had to write him letters and we had to say, please send us this and do this and do this. And we had to exhaust everything. So he knows that's a big fat lie. He's involved in what I think criminal DA probation. So I hope she beats him. But yeah, it's getting nasty. I mean, he's tried to label her as a, really, really liberal person. And again, I don't know her background on politics as much. Wouldn't surprise me. She's not as conservative as I am. But there are people who are way more conservative. I got people who don't think I'm conservative enough, so although I have scored pretty decently on everything, but,
you mentioned today in Collinsville that he didn't like how you voted. So
no, but here's the deal: the guy, if you'd asked him, he wouldn't let me ask him. But so we were in Collinsville. I went to shake the guy's hand. I know how you voted, and we were trying to rack our brain what because I could piss people off on a whole different, on just many levels. But I finally figured out it's probably on that marriage deal. And again, people just can't read. I mean, you know what I'm saying? The marriage deal ain't got nothing to do with pedophilia. If they get pregnant beforehand, what do you stop? You ain't stopping them from having sex. What you're doing is allowing them to get married after they've had sex. It's if anybody could read, worth the crud. That's why I'm for a reading program. That's why we got to get a good state superintendent.
Yeah.
And that race has been a little contentious. I will tell you this, on Pew, the way I read that law, and I just briefly looked at it, but if you're still a state senator, you have to resign that position, my understanding, to run for this office. Mm-hmm. And he didn't do it. And it's my understanding that Tony Hesenbeck challenged that. And they did a brother-in-law deal and kind of had some of the Senate looking at that, if I'm not mistaken. And it's like, really? You're going to get your brother-in-law to look at it over there? And they said, well, hey, we can't see nothing. Y'all move on, nothing to see here. Well, the same, it's rules for thee, but not for me. You know what I mean? That's got to change. And I like Pugh. He's okay. He's definitely not my favorite person. And again, you notice I'm not trying to pick anybody. And so if I say you're definitely not my favorite in the race, you're probably in there pretty low, on what I'm saying. He's an okay guy, but I know Tony better. I know Mr. Taylor better, and I know Cox better. And I will tell you, man, Cox and Taylor both, it may turn out to be Pugh in the runoff. Very well could be. Could be Tony. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tony,
Well,
Tony hasn't been out there a whole lot. I don't see her a whole lot.
Franklin, I'm hearing his name a lot in within the education circles. And
See, I don't even know him. Is he Democrat?
no, he's a Republican.
Really?
He's gotten a lot of. I know he got the Apple Award, and I think that's out of or Apple endorsed, and none of the other candidates have that. I'm going to predict on that race. I think possibly John Cox and Franklin will be the two that come out in the end on that one. Just from what I'm hearing.
See, I go all over now. I'm at everything, and I can tell you by far, hands down, walk away. The two hardest working guys on that superintendent race are easily going to be John Cox and Taylor, Mr. Taylor, James Taylor. And I will tell you, if you ever meet either one of them, man, they're both super, super nice guys.
Oh yeah, and not Mr. Taylor, but John Cox. A lot of the places that we've been over the past few years, you'll see, or the past year, you'll see John Cox. And so, yeah, I know John's definitely, he's put the rubber to the road.
Well, I think Taylor's worked equally as hard. And again, Taylor may be that guy that's more conservative. That dude, when you say conservative, dadgum, I would say he's more conservative than I am for sure. I think most people view me as pretty conservative, but this guy is conservative. I agree with him on about 95%. I don't think he understands rural Oklahoma as well. He's worked up there in the city quite a bit, but I do think Taylor has the ability to hear from others, listen to others, work with others. And I know John is that way. You know what I'm saying? That neither one of those guys, or it's my way, or you just get the heck out of here. They're both guys who will sit down, listen to others, try to develop a plan that was going to work throughout the state. So I think you got a pretty deep bench there. I don't know this guy you're talking about. I hadn't heard, but again, he's not out there working, like these other two that I mentioned.
And I think you've got a sample ballot in front of you, and I think maybe his name is Jerry Franklin, but he came in on a guy that was running, and I can't his name is slipping me right now.
Robert Franklin.
But who?
Robert. So you got Adam Pugh, which I've seen out a little bit. Deborah Hurley, which I've seen two. I've been to two things that she's at.
Compressor that just came on. Hang on. I'll turn it off.
I'm just going to go ahead and go through the list while he's taking care of his compression. I got a William Crozer, something like that. Never heard of this person. I'm out there every day. So I've seen Adam out there several times on the trail. I've seen this Deborah out there twice, maybe 3 times. She was at McAllister. She's at another event that I was at. I've seen this William E. Crozer. She was at a Tulsa event where she was. Tony's been out there a little bit. John, man, like I say, John's been out there working like you wouldn't believe. This Robert Franklin, I don't know that I've ever seen him. And James Taylor has worked his hiney off. He has worked his hiney off. So that'll be pretty interesting. They haven't really gotten too nasty. I hadn't heard any.
No, it's pretty vanilla in that race. But
yeah, and they're making. They're making it about facts, and you know what? It's not a bad thing. Call out the truth. Truth's truth. If it's true, and it's viable, and it should impact, then hey, that's fine. All fair, But what we're seeing, like for example, when Jeff is putting out on Eccles that he was involved in getting that lady out of jail, how would he know she was going to do all that? So they send money, la-di-da. I wouldn't have sent it back. I'd have kept the money and said I didn't have nothing to do with that. I'm not even in the office. How would I do? I mean, he's not even where he can do anything about it. If he
Right.
made a phone call for a friend, if you call me up, I'll make a phone call for a friend. Don't mean nothing. I don't have a seat to. All I'm doing is, hey, here's what I think. Here's my input. Want to call you
Right.
for a friend? You know, again, trying to make that out to something bigger than what it is. You know, I don't doubt that everything he said was true, but it's a half truth. You know, it's a truth that don't really matter to. You know, he's acting like he got $3,500 and went down there and took the keys and let her out. That didn't happen. You know.
No, it didn't.
I got. Go ahead.
I was just saying, Rusty Cornwell, Representative Cornwell's wife, Sherry, that in the House, I think they're, and you probably know this number to be exact because your seat's one of them, but I think she said 26 seats were available. It was an open race, and that's a lot. That's a
lot. That's a whole lot. I mean, you know, that's let's see, we got 80. You know, so 25 would be a third would be 75. So you know, almost a third of the seats are open. That's a pretty big number. You know what I mean?
It is. Well, speaking of District 19, where you have held that position for a decade now,
Right.
I want to take this opportunity to thank you because I know you've been unlike any state representative that we've ever had, and I know that's you're going to bring those same qualities to the lieutenant governor's office. But it's for the past decade, Justin, you have gotten a lot done, not just for our area, but also for the entire state. So thank you.
We brought a lot of attention. I can tell you this, shined a lot of light, hope to shine a whole lot more light in the future on waste, fraud, and abuse. We have massive waste, fraud, and abuse. We have agencies that are not accountable to nobody. We have rapes going on. We have extortion going on. We have murder going on. We have rapes in juvenile detention, kids being waterboarded, and all this being covered up. And it is time somebody called it out. But yeah, that little race that I'm in, it's pretty. I don't know that I've seen a nastier state, representative race than that one right there. It's getting.
I'm sure there's a lot of heated races, but as we know, we felt that heat just because we know all three candidates and that are vying for that. I don't guess there's a Democrat that's even running, so it will be decided more than likely in a runoff in August. But yeah, it's here in the last few weeks, or maybe even longer. It's certainly gotten. There's been a lot of mudslinged.
Well, I've two of those candidates I've liked, and I have no issue with. One I don't have much use for at all. He's snake in the grass. But one of them is kind of looking like he may sliding over to the snake in the grass, kind of teaming up with them. And again, I was trying to keep an open mind on it, but at the end of the day, it has gotten nasty, and they've accused it. In fact, I got accused of, going out and trying to put something on, and I had to get it understood real quick. I'm running my own race, and I'm not involved in this race. You ain't seen me doing anything, and that's a fact. And I'll say it publicly. I'll say it to their face. Again, I had nothing to do with all their, stuff. And again, I just laugh. I'm like, y'all getting upset. You ought to come and see what people put on me every day. Go walk up to a guy and he almost spit on you because he don't understand the bill. If you can't take that, don't run for the race. You know what I mean? If you can't take people talking about you, you in the wrong business. Is what I'd say.
You better go see your dermatologist before you decide to apply to run for political office, because you need.
Well, and again, they've sent out some letters threatening people, threatening lawsuits, threatening to file charges and that kind of thing. And the Constitution gives you freedom of speech, and I'll fight for your right to talk bad about me. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
That's where I'm at. Now, if you say something that's just flat out wrong and I can prove it's flat out wrong, I don't have a problem holding people responsible. Maybe we need to hold people a little bit more responsible, but going after people that, if I share something on my Facebook, I didn't say it, you say it, you send it to me and I send it to somebody else, and then you're going to threaten me, somebody's going to threaten me. Guess what? You're whistling Dixie. You're whistling Dixie. That's just an idle threat, and you're just using your money and your position in society, to threaten somebody. I'm not for it. I don't like it. I don't like it. You're making an idle threat, and you're just using your position, your higher status, your higher financial status to try to intimidate people. I'm not a big fan of that. I got to say that right there. I got an apology, and I'm good with that, and I accept the apology, and that's fine. But I'm watching not what was done to me, but what was done to others, and I don't care for that. You know what I'm saying? You take care of you. And now, if they come out and said something that you could prove was false, or you could, but what I see is you wouldn't be able to prove it. You can't prove it, and all you're doing is trying to threaten people and shut them up. And I'm just not a big fan. But now we got a couple other races, man. We ain't even really.
Oh, what I'm going to say to that, I know, in your race you got more than you can say grace over. So you've been minding your own business, and
I have. I will tell you, when I first started, Justin, I was running one time for an old boy named Roy Boatner. And this back when I was 20 years old. And I don't know if you remember, we had a governor named Walters, and he got in a little bit of trouble. So, me being all up in the politics and 20, I thought I knew something. I was over there at Poto. Boy, I had a big crowd over there. Anyways, I was talking to a group of women. They probably about 12 women there, and I had them eating out of my hand. Boy, I mean, it's Roy Boatner all the way. And one of them women asked me, said, well, what do you think about the governor? And boy, let me tell y'all something about Walters. He no good. Sorry, slack jaw, whatever I said, you know how I am. And man, the minute I said it, you could look in them women's eyes. They started fire, started coming out, and they started kind of gnashing their teeth and growling a little bit at me. And I realized right quick, right then, hey, stay on your own race. Nobody can tell me that. Man, I saw it, And so I learned a lesson right there. When you're running a race, don't run. If you go out and endorse somebody, you're going to make somebody else mad. You go out and do something, that's just the way it is. Doesn't mean you don't have your favorite. Don't mean you don't have your opinion, but keep your opinion to yourself,
Like I said, it's a delicate dance. When it's just two of you, but if you've got multiple people that are vying for that same position, it's very interesting. You've got to be mindful that you're going to need those people down the road should you be the one that gets in the runoff. And so, it's a delicate dance, as I said.
Well, we've got labor commissioner.
A lot of dances out there with.
There's a bunch. It's labor commissioner. We got a guy named Keith Sweeten. I've never heard of him, never seen him. You got Kevin West, John Pfeiffer, and Lisa Janlou. I will tell you this. Janlou has, man, she's working. If there's anybody out working her, I ain't seen it. Kevin West would be out there as hard, pretty hard. I mean, he might be equal to her working. Pfeiffer's been out there. I've seen Pfeiffer quite a bit, but not like them other two. I've seen them. I think Jan Lou's worked a little harder down in our area, southeastern Oklahoma. I'd be surprised if she doesn't do pretty well in southeastern Oklahoma. And I think a lot of these people take southeastern Oklahoma for granted because there's a lot of people live in southeastern Oklahoma. And, if people get out and vote, it can be that swing vote. It can make a big difference if you can.
Absolutely.
If you can pick up two or three districts down here. You get District 19, which is Bryan, Hugo, Push, and a little bit of Toka. And if you get that old McAllister and Latimer and Haskell, and then you pick up LaFleur, McCurtain, and that in there. And hey, you got a lot of people.
GOP or LaFleur County GOP, they're very active, and as we know, Choctaw County, put here in Pushmataha County, and down in Bryan County, Durant, those folks are very engaged, and which you touched on that a little bit last night. As much as you've been across the state, you've seen some of those counties that are, and then those that are not. And we had that discussion on the way back home. People need to get involved and in all, even, and I was telling somebody this yesterday, not just these statewide races or these district races, but also your local, your city council, your school board.
Oh, absolutely. That's the ones, locals, where it's all at. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the grassroots and your county commissioners races. But,
well, I'm going to tell you that Kevin West is impressive. If you'll go back and look what he's done as a legislator, he's impressive. You can't take it away from him. But now this girl, Lisa Janlou, coming out of nowhere, and man, I mean, she's making a name for herself. So she's somebody to watch. I'm going to predict that it's going to be West and Janlou in that one, I think. You got insurance commissioner. You got who's your friend, Marty Quinn, Bob Sullivan. Every time I laugh when he who's your friend? It's Marty Quinn. Everywhere he speaks. Bob Sullivan, who I hear is a really good guy. I don't know him, but I know several. He used to serve in the House. And know several who know him. Chris Meredith, I will tell you, Chris has worked. You can't take it away from him. Chris has been at a lot of places. I don't think he's outworked Marty. I think Marty's outworked him, but you can't take anything away from Chris. Always very well dressed. He's a pretty sharp individual. And Greta, man, you can't help but like Greta. I was at an event 2 nights ago with Greta. She knows her stuff. I will tell you this. Greta is very, very knowledgeable on the insurance business. Really, I would say her and Quinn extremely knowledgeable, and that very well could go to a runoff. And I'm going to say Marty will be in the runoff on that if he doesn't win it outright. But if not, it's a toss-up between any of those three, I think.
What about, and we had a conversation with your former neighbor, Jed Cochran, who's running for District 1 congressional race. What, that's another crowded and one that has a Trump endorsement behind it with Jackson. But I think that's also going to be another one because you've got a candidate or a couple of candidates that have thrown a lot of money at that race with Butterfield and Tedford. So, and I know,
here's where I'm at on that. Like the Trump endorsement, man, you just think you're crowned where you just think you're crowned. Jackson's a nice guy. I like Jackson.
Yeah.
But just because you get a Trump endorsement, a Trump endorsement ain't bad. But if you're voting only on somebody who says, I like this guy, who don't really know. I mean, Jackson's had meetings with Trump, but how well do they know each other? I would doubt very well. Like TW, how well does TW know the president? I mean, it ain't like he's spending quality time with him and they know each other. All of this is money. I can tell you right now. And when we talk about let's drain the swamp, but we're going to drain the swamp, but to get my endorsement, you got to have swamp money. There's a lot of, we can break it down. We can spend an hour on that alone right there. The other part is just that I ought to be crowned. There's a what do you say, egotistical attitude, arrogant attitude that a lot of these have. And I may be a little bit biased, Of course, full disclosure, I live in a little community called Lane, Oklahoma, very tight knit, small community, and there's several political people come out of that. And at Cochran Bunch, that whole bunch is very political, and they're great people. If you know them, their mom and dad are just awesome people, and they're awesome. All them kids are just really good kids, and so I couldn't. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't speak out against him. I really like him, but now full disclosure, he's a hometown boy, a little bit of town from Lane. We're both from Lane, so you ain't got to wonder kind of where I'm leaning. I'm not going to give away any hints, but you know, I like Jed, and the other part of it is if you talk to anybody in that race, he is about the most humble. He's the most grounded individual to me. And again, I like Jackson Laymeyer. You know, I'm not against him because he got a Trump deal, but just having a Trump deal doesn't, you know, necessarily buy my vote. You know, I mean, I will see who you are, what you have to offer, and I know what this other boy. I know his work ethic. You know what I mean? So I can just testify to that. But I'll tell you this: Kevin Hearn, just you know how everybody just crowns him. I was at an event the other day with a guy named Ty England, who's running for that seat, and it was at Norman, and they got up and let Hearn speak. And here's this other guy running for the same office, and they don't let him speak or anything else. I will tell you that right there, that turns me off on that. Just like them keeping Jake off the stage, guess what? That makes me run over here to Jake's side. And I can tell you with Hearn being treated as royalty and just, he's already been crowned and he probably will get it. I won't predict that he may get it without even a runoff. You know what I mean? But end of the day, I don't like the crowning before it happens. You know what I mean?
No, you know, that's and that's unfortunate because people need to hear other candidates' views and their ideology and where they stand, so they can make, you know, a sound decision. And when you kind of got a baked cake with some of the these different outlets, it's really unfair to the voters of our state when they do that. To stop.
I'm gonna run down. We're almost out of time. I'm gonna run down, and I'm gonna say people probably gonna think my predictions are gonna be crazy. We'll see how they come out. I'm predicting Maisie and Merrick runoff. I'm predicting Humphrey and Shannon runoff only probably because I'm predicting myself. I'm trying to work me in there.
I'll second that prediction.
I'm going to say John Eccles pulls it out, but not near what he could have. Oh, we left out Cindy Bird and Todd Russ. Golly, how did we leave them up? That's a hot, you know. And Cindy jumping out of our race. I will tell you, I think Cindy. I really was more scared of Cindy than I was anybody, and I think she stalled out on her numbers and got scared and bailed over into now. And that's another thing she's saying. She's Bulldog. Bulldog would have stayed and fought. But here's the deal: she could have found a way to get her numbers up. She has a lot. She had a lot to work with, I think, and she bailed too quick. I think she should have stayed in our race. I think she's a much more. You know, when she bailed, I think she hurt herself by bailing, and I don't see her beating Todd Russ. She come out with a little dirt on him, but I don't think it's a whole lot of dirt. And so, you know, I say Todd Russ gonna win that one.
I'm gonna counter punch you, and I'm gonna say Cindy Bird on that. So we'll see. We'll
you know what? I like Cindy. I'm not opposed to Cindy. You know, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like I'm mad. I was actually saying that she would be a tougher opponent. You know, and people, they may think I'm crazy. She has more to offer than T.W. Shannon. T.W. Shannon's just slick, but when you start trying to break down T.W. Shannon's, well, what's your proposals? What's your plans? What do you have to offer? And guess what? TW has the same answer on everyone. What are you going to do about schools? Trump. What are you going to do about highways? Trump. You know, what
Right.
what you gonna do about it? Like, Trump, Trump, Trump. You know, I mean, that's what his answer is. Cindy actually has a, I mean, she understands budget. She understands finances. She has some pretty good background. You know what I'm saying? I think she would have been the harder person, more fundamentally to beat. So
Oh,
again, but now we got the state superintendent. I'm gonna say Cox and Taylor. You gonna say Cox and Franklin?
yeah, Cox and
Okay.
Franklin, I predict to be in the runoff.
I'm going to say corporation for labor commissioner. I'm going to say West to Janlu is who
Okay,
I'm going to predict on that.
I'll agree to that.
I'm going to say Marty Quinn. I'm going to say Marty Quinn's going to win it by 50%.
I'll stand beside that prediction as well.
Now the only one we didn't talk about is Hornbeck and Bulls. Brad Bulls, and that's the Corporation Commission.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say Brad Bull's probably going to pull that one out because just more name recognition of where he's at. It's going to have a lot.
Oh, I know, and you had told me about Bowles, and I met Justin.
Justin's a good dude. I like Justin.
Yeah, he was at our event that we went to in Duncan.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I talked to him. Yeah. I will tell you, he's going to make a strong showing, but it's only them two in the race.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm going to say just because Brad, the position he's had, and he's made a lot of your bigger, corporate people know him, and I'm going to say that's who's going to end up on this U.S. I figure it's going to be Herm, but I don't like the way they coronated him, and then on Burking's.
His mom sealed that deal.
He won when she started throwing. Robert, what's his name?
Victory with that one.
Yeah. She won that race for him. But I will tell you this: if you want to be entertained, listen to him sing and listen to him talk. Oh, Will is a good guy. The guy running against him, I've gotten to know him, and I'm gonna predict that Burking is gonna win that pretty large. But I will tell you this: if you'll go out and listen to one of his opponents, Will, you'll come away with he's entertaining and he's a dang good. You can't help but like the guy, and he's out there trying to do what's right.
Yeah, and he resembles Zach Galifianakis, or something that resembles that. I can't believe you've never watched The Hangover, Humphrey. After this election, you're going to have to sit down and watch that because you're going to need a good laugh.
Well, Justin, I people wouldn't believe this, but I don't watch hardly. You was with me yesterday. I met you at 9 o'clock. I had to leave down here before 8 to get there to 9. I'd gotten in the night before pretty late. I think somewhere after 12 something o'clock. I was out of the house and on the road by 8 o'clock, which is pretty late for me. Met you at 9, and we were on the road, or if we were not on the road, we were talking in front of a group, or we were working the streets. People wouldn't believe it. Hey, we didn't stop to eat lunch. We stopped to gas up, run to the bathroom, grab some coffee, and we're off again. And that was until 1 o'clock in the morning. We got back here in McAllister, maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Good thing I brought that smoked salmon.
Yep. We got to eat. A lot of times, I tell people I'm living on trails mix and coffee, and they think I'm lying, but I ain't lying. That's what I eat most of the days, and I don't get to watch TV hardly at all. And then normally, if I'm by myself, I'm listening to voicemails or what I can listen to, or talking to people on the phone, or listening to that Facebook stuff where I can just turn on my radio. And I learned a whole lot out of that. I've got some things on my phone that I listen to over budgets, over global budgets, over screw worms, over, that kind of stuff. So when I'm driving down the road, I'm trying to learn something and have it not be dead time. And people, well, now, JJ, how can you know all that? Well, I drive 8 hours a day and I listen to this stuff 3 or 4 hours. After 10 o'clock, you can't call nobody. you drive in at 10 to 2, you got 4 hours of listening, stuff like that. And you can kind of catch up on a whole lot in that kind of time. So that's kind of what I do with my time, but I never seen Yellowstone. I've never seen, in fact, I got a guy, gave me a guy that's in Yellowstone. I got a pictured autograph at my office. And they were like, a guy brought it to me and he's like, man, I got this. And I was like, cool. He goes, you know who that was? No. The guy's in Yellowstone. I was like, okay. You never seen Yellowstone? I was like, no. You never seen one episode? I was like, never seen an episode. I've never watched
it. I was shocked when you told me that yesterday, but well, you've certainly put in the work, and I know so many other candidates out here in all these other races. They've been working hard, and again, I commend them. Those that have put in the hard work to try and get the voters, the people's vote, because that's what it's all about. And when you get out there, and you and I both know this, when you're out there and you're meeting these people face to face, you truly understand what the issues are and what people, of this state are concerned with. And yesterday was a prime example, because we learned so many things that you've already have heard, but I know I learned some issues like with the county assessors races and the taxes, that it sounds like they are.
What's going on up there in Meigs County's criminal. Like I say, I'm getting involved in it. Been involved in it a while, but a lot of people don't know. We've actually had an elephant in the room on that. So yeah, that's a big deal. That corporation commission issue on the power lines, I hadn't heard that going on. Now that was the first for me on that. Right. So, every time you go out there, if you'll listen to folks, you're going to find out about a whole lot. And I just want to say my hat's off to everybody who got in the race, everybody who is willing to put their name out there, risk everything, work their tail off, spend the money, do the stuff that it takes to do it. Hey, my hat's off to you. That's the way the process ought to work. We got to start looking at backing people who are not money backed. We got to stop paying attention. Commercials, flyers, all of these things ought to be flagged that they're bought and paid for. Guys, look for those people who are out there grassroots, running on just your money, on people's money, onto people's money. They're paid for by the people and they're going to work for the people. Hey, I do want to say 750 Highway 3. It's actually 11750. 11750 Highway 3, Lane, Oklahoma, Tuesday night at 6:30. There's a red and white building. That's where I'm going to be having my watch party. You're welcome if you want to come. 11750 Highway 3, Lane, Oklahoma, 6:30, June 16th, Tuesday night. You're welcome to come. We're going to sit there and watch and hope old JJ don't get his butt kicked. So, Jackson, I appreciate you going with me last night. I enjoyed it. Thank you for coming on and sharing your opinion. We're pretty close on what we think is going to happen. Again, it could be Gittner and Maisie. I wouldn't be shocked by that. And I wouldn't be shocked if McCall I will tell you that top 5 could fall in there. And on our race, hey, I wouldn't Weaver wouldn't shock me on, you know what I'm saying? I can tell you, I think it's going to be me, Weaver, and TW. It'll be me and Weaver and TW. TW is probably going to be the guy to beat, and I hope he don't get over 50. And then me and Weaver trucking in, one of us second, one of us third. And again, it'll be interesting whether Ostro can throw enough money at it to. I think he got in late, and I don't think he can get enough money. He don't have enough name recognition. He's tied to Stitt, and right now Stitt's not really a great, endorser. So I think it'll be TW, me, or Weaver, and I'm hoping it's TW, me, and Weaver's in third. But we'll see. Oh, Daryl, I will tell you this: Daryl is a sign hanging son buck. He got signed off. And I will tell you this, Daryl Weaver's wife is probably not the person.
That's not the case.
Well, Marty Quinn, You know what I'm saying? Jake's wife, Marty Quinn's wife, all these guys, man, they've got their wives out there working with them, and you know they make a great team. And so again, you can't take just you can't just say Daryl Weaver. If Daryl Weaver gets there, I'll give his wife a whole lot of credit. Marty Quinn, same way. Jake, same way. So you just got to take your hat off to some of these people that are getting out there and working as a team and getting it done. So, hey, we better get off here. We're already 12 minutes over. This has been a pretty good conversation, and we could even get in way more to the weeds, but we just don't have time. Y'all go vote June 16th. Hey, vote for J.J. Humphrey, Lieutenant Governor. Jackson, I appreciate it. That's right. Look at his shirt right there. Catch y'all later.
Enjoyed it. Thanks.